Hello and welcome to This Week in Plymouth for Saturday, October 27th. I'm your host, Jonathan Picard. The Select Board met this past week at the normal meeting time in Town Hall. The board opened the meeting with a public hearing to accept a total of $12,125 from NH Primex for damages related to a snowplow accident from this past March.
I'm going to open a public hearing. Plymouth Select Board is holding a public hearing in accordance with RSA 3195B for the acceptance and authorization to expend unanticipated funds received from New Hampshire Primex, the town's general liability carrier, in the amount of $12,125 for damages related to an accident and damage of a plow and wing on a highway vehicle back in March of 2023. These funds will be utilized to fix the equipment by HP Fairfield as quoted.
What happened was back in March, we had a structure in the road. Water and sewer had just gone through and something was done in that area. As our highway department went through, it was quite the dip and hit the plow, spun the plow right around. And we did learn today that we now have a frame that might be twisted on that vehicle. So,
they missed that in like the
initial review, yes.
Yeah.
So, because this is insurance money that came directly to the town, we're just asking for you to accept it and allow us to expend it to pay the bill.
Now I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we accept the $12,125 received from New Hampshire Primex for the damages to that related accident and authorize to expend it to buy a replacement plow as quoted.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
After approving several purchase orders from the highway and police departments, the board moved on to discuss the review of institutional exempt properties.
What you have in front of you is the review of the institutional exempt properties. This process began back in January 2023 when Ann and I met with Whitney Consultants and asked them to go through our tax-exempt nonprofits based on what we heard at town meeting and wanting to learn more about the nonprofits and the tax-exempt. Inspections were started in mid-May and lasted over several months. The last time most of the properties were visited as part of an exemption process was during an initial application, most being 20 years ago. In all, 26 properties were inspected with a representative from the charitable entity. Applicants were required to submit articles of organization, bylaws, New Hampshire Secretary of State annual filings, the New Hampshire Charitable Trust documents under Section 12, any leases for the areas in which property was rented. All documents were received, and if needed, additional information was requested to confirm eligibility, which just last week we received some additional information from two entities which led us to the completion of this report. Previously, the additional documentation and inspection request was only done when the first request was made for exempt status. The process will continue in the following years, with religious entities being inspected to ensure the properties are owned, used, and occupied in the same way the charitable entities were this year, with a cycle of inspections done over several years to keep the process fair and appropriately utilize resources. The results of this, 3 new properties were acquired, built, or occupied as additional exempt properties. 5 properties will have prorated assessments based on the portion that is used and occupied by exempt entities, and 1 property was removed from the exempt status as it is not used or occupied. So attached to that is the report that Whitney Consultants put together. And if you are in agreement with her executive summary, Emily Goldstein's executive summary, I would ask you to sign the last page, which is part of our MS1N, am I correct?
Yes.
Process that we will be completing before the end of October.
Yeah, so there's a total of 26 different exempt, I guess, agencies. Yeah, each with 1 or more locations. And so the total comes to the total assessed value is $74,952,437. What's the total assessed value of the town?
Last year's was $495,000. million.
So if you were to say the full value of the town would be 495 plus the,
Yep.
but they're just
Plus
not
all
taxable,
kinds, right.
You couldn't simply say, well, 75 million, that's the total untaxable. It's not, because there's more that's partial, plus there's the education.
I am going to make a motion that we all sign off on the review of institutional exemption properties.
I will say, really glad that we're doing this. This is a good, healthy practice for us to be reviewing these regularly, and Emily has done a very nice, thorough job here. It's
Now
appreciated.
it gives us some updated documentation to be able to go out and have some additional conversations with those properties, because they have had a full inspection done.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
During committee reports, Select Board Chair Zach Terrell spoke about his last appearance at the Pemmy-Baker Regional School Board and took a step back from his seat as Select Board member momentarily to talk about his issues with the board as a member of the public.
Right. Plymouth High School ended up being an interesting meeting where I caused a little bit of drama. To my dismay, approved a new public engagement policy. The meeting agenda included the first hearing of this policy, or the first reading of this policy, at which they proceeded to not read it publicly. Then they voted on it and approved it. And then when I asked for to see a copy of it and to have a chance to see it during the public comment section, they told me no, and that it would be posted on the website the next day. And I was like, this seems like maybe the most absurd way to engage with the public on a public comment policy. I actually was concerned that maybe they had broken New Hampshire right to know laws. I had Scott contact an attorney to check to see if that was the case. Turns out they did not actually violate the law, but they definitely proceeded in a way that was extraordinarily non-transparent. I'm still quite upset about the situation today. I don't know, maybe just to put a thumb in the wound, the minutes from that meeting are still not published online, so that's cool. I don't know what's going on at the high school. My personal opinion is that they're operating that board in a publicly non-transparent way. They're not interested in engaging with the public. And I'm, as a citizen in this community, I am dismayed by the way the high school is operating their board. We don't have any power over that. That is me making a statement about how it's happening. And I encourage, again, pushing back from my chair position, I'm speaking as a member of the public. In any of our surrounding communities, I would encourage you to vote against every sitting member on that committee, because they do not want your input. They've made that perfectly clear. They've set a policy about public input without getting public input on it, and then didn't even publish the minutes of the meeting in which they did that. So I don't know what else to do using this particular moment and my particular control of this microphone to just make that public statement. I don't get it. It's very confusing to me. It makes me sad because, one, I love this community. Two, I love the high school. I think we run an absolutely amazing public high school here with great programs and frankly, a really great administration. And to see the board act in a way that is, I think, actively hostile to the public, it makes me sad. So anyway.
The following day, both the Budget and CIP committees met to discuss the upcoming town budget and also met with various different departments about their capital improvement plans. Both meetings, as well as all other town meetings, are available to watch on demand on our YouTube channel or during select times throughout the week on channel 1301. The Planning Board, alongside the HUP Committee, also held a community meeting this past week about the housing situation in Plymouth. At the beginning, members of the Barrett Planning Group presented what they had been working on during the project and worked with the attendees to discuss some of the group ideas going forward. Moving on to this week's announcements, a new town manager report from Scott Whedon is available to read on the town website. In the report, Whedon gave updates on a number of different things, including an update on the downtown drainage project. Regarding the project, Whedon said, quote, "The project over the past 2 weeks is moving along nicely along Main Street. I have had very positive comments from the businesses and the public." We will continue to meet with Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District every Wednesday morning, taking a look back at the previous week and a 2-week look ahead. Be sure to check out the full report on the town website for more details. The fire department has hired a new firefighter/EMT this past week. On behalf of all residents, we welcome Joseph Sullivan to our Plymouth community. The Firemen's Association announced the dates for the 2023 Operation Santa Claus, a program that is intended to assist families with children 12 and younger in the Plymouth community this holiday season. The form can be found on the town website under the Documents and Forms quick link under the main page or under the Firemen's Association and the Fire Rescue website. The form must be filled out and then returned in person at the fire station by December 8th. Gift pickup will be Saturday, September 16th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the fire station. The annual Ski, Skate, and Sports Sale is coming up in a few weeks. The event is set to begin on Thursday, November 16th in the Plymouth Elementary School Gymnasium. The Rec Department is also looking for volunteers to help out at the sale. So if you're interested, please reach out to rzumski@pemmybaker.org. Peace Public Library will be hosting a session about navigating the library edition of Ancestry.com. Librarian and archivist Becky White will be leading the event on Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m. A new episode of the Peace Public Library Show, Check It Out, will be airing next week here on Channel 1302. Becky White announces all the events, book discussions, and other activities happening in November at the library. Plymouth Regional High School will not be having school on November 10th in observance of Veterans Day. There will also be a 2-hour delay on the 15th for teacher in service. Let's take a look around Bobcat Athletics. Earlier this week, 11-seeded boys soccer knocked off 6-seeded Merrimack Valley 3-0 in the preliminary round of the NHIAA Division II tournament. The Bobcats traveled to 3rd-seeded Kingswood Regional last night for the quarterfinal matchup. Best of luck to the cross-country teams who are competing at the Division II state meet this morning at Dairyfield Park. This afternoon, PRHS football hosts Sanborn in the regular season finale. Plymouth, 7-1, looks to secure the 2nd seed for next week's NHIAA Division II playoffs. This would secure the home field advantage for PRHS through the semifinals on November 4th and 11th. Watch the game live here on Channel 1302, Facebook, and YouTube, with coverage starting at 12:45 p.m. and kickoff at 1. Looking at next week's town meetings, there will be a cemetery trustees meeting on Wednesday, November 1st at 3 p.m. in the meeting room at Town Hall. The public is welcome to attend. The planning board will be meeting at their normal time of 6:30 p.m. on Thursday in the Town Hall as well. The planning board will be meeting at their normal time of 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, also in the Town Hall meeting room for a work session about housing in Plymouth. The November meeting for the Zoning Board of Adjustment has been canceled for Tuesday, November 7th, due to there being no applications. Thank you for tuning in to This Week in Plymouth. Remember, you can watch full replays of town meetings and PRH sports and other original content on our YouTube channel. For all of us here at Pemmy Baker TV, thank you for joining us. I'm Jonathan Picard. Join us next week for another episode of This Week in Plymouth.